Good day everyone. Today I will show you how to solve this kind of equation using quadratic form or the solutions in quadratic equation like factoring method. So there are some equations that can be transformed into quadratic equations to solve for the variables. Just like in this example, x raised to 4 minus 6x squared plus 8 equals 0. So in this example, if the square of the variable in the middle term is equivalent to the first term, then the equation can be expressed in quadratic form. So let's check if we can solve this equation and express it in quadratic form. So again, we need to check if the square of the variable in the middle term is the equivalent. It is equivalent to the first term. So in this part, the variable in the middle term is x squared. And if we will get the square of it, it will give us x raised to 4, which is equivalent or which is the same as the first term in this equation. So in this case, we can use any variable to represent x squared. Okay, so for the solution, let's say we have here x raised to 4 minus 6x squared plus 8 equals 0. You will let u as x squared. And this will serve as the variable in the middle term. So we need to represent another variable for quadratic term. So if we have u, we will use u squared. So u squared, again, the value of u is x squared and then quantity squared. So using the power rule, it will give us x raised to 2 times 2, that is x raised to 4. So remember that u is equal to x squared. And then u squared is equal to x raised to 4. So based on this representation, we will change the variables of the given example. So if the first term here is x raised to 4, it will become x raised to 4 is u squared. So we have here u squared minus 6, and then x squared will be u plus 8 equals 0. So now, this is the equation. U squared minus 6u plus 8 equals 0. It is now in quadratic form. So we can solve this using the method in finding the roots of quadratic equation, just like in factoring method. Since this equation is factorable, we can get the factors of this equation and solve for u. So the factors of u squared are u times u. And then you will think of the factors of positive 8, that if we will add up those factors, the result will be negative 6. So positive 8, so we have here same sign. And since the sign of the middle term is negative, so the factors are both negative. Okay, so it will give us, or it will lead us to the factors like we have negative 2 and negative 4. We can use this negative 2 times negative 4, that is positive 8, and negative 2 plus negative 4, that is negative 6. So you will put this in the given factors or combine it with the factors of the first term. So we have u minus 2 times the quantity of u minus 4 equals 0. And then after that, we will equate each factor to 0 using the zero product property. So for the first factor, we have u minus 2 equals 0. And then the second one is u minus 4 equals 0. Okay, so let's go to the first factor. U minus 2 equals 0. You will transpose negative 2 to the other side and it will give us u equals positive 2. And then for the second equation, u minus 4 equals 0, transpose negative 4 to the other side and it will give us u equals positive 4. So we have now the values of u. But the question here is, what are the values of x? Because that is the variable in the equation. So to do that, we need the representation of the variables. So again, in the first part, we represent x squared as u. So you will substitute it here. Since u is equal to x squared. So for the first value of u, which is positive 2, u equals positive 2, it will be x squared equals positive 2. And then for the second one, u equals 4, it will be x squared equals positive 4. And then since we need only the value of x, we need to eliminate the exponent 2. And for us to eliminate this, we will apply the square root property by getting the square root of both sides of the equation. So in the first in the first value of u, which is 2, we have here x squared equals 2, and it will give us a square root of x squared, which is x. That is x equals a square root of 2, since 2 is non-perfect square, and it will give us the result of positive and negative square root of 2. Okay, and then for the second value, which is u equals 4, we have here x squared equals positive 4. Again, same process, apply the square root property to remove the exponent. So square root of x squared, it will give us x equals square root of positive 4, that is positive and negative 2. So therefore, the values of x are positive square root of 2, negative square root of 2, positive 2, and negative 2. Okay, next, I will show you another example for quadratic form. Let's say we have here 2x minus x plus 11 square root of x plus 30 equals 0. So just like in any other equation, we need to get the standard form of it. So we will combine the like terms. We have 2x minus x is x plus 11 square root of x plus 30 equals 0. Again, this is now in standard form. The highest exponent is 1. And then for the radical, okay, so when we say radical, in exponential form, the exponent is in fraction form. Okay, so remember, for example, in this part, square root of x, if we will convert this into exponential form, it will give us x raised to 1/2. So that's the thing for a radical and rational exponent. So radicals in exponential form, it will give us fractional exponents. Okay, And then remember the statement earlier that to check if we can solve this using quadratic form, if the square of the middle term is same as the first term, then we can express this equation into quadratic form. So let's check. If we'll get the square of x, it will give us the result of x. Okay, so to explain this part, square root of x quantity squared, that is equivalent to x. Again, that's uh, for example, in this part, if we will convert this square root of x into exponential form, that would be x raised to 1/2. And then if we will square this, it will give us x raised to 1/2 times 2, which is x raised to 2 over 2. And it is equivalent to x raised to 1, which is also x. Okay? And then, since we already checked it, if the square of the middle term variable is same as the first term, then we can convert this now or express this equation into quadratic form by representing a variable as a square root of x. So we have to let u equals square root of x, and then u squared will be square root of x quantity squared. Again, u is square root of x, and then copy the squared, so it will give us x. So u equals square root of x, and then u squared is equal to x. Remember that. Again, replace the variables in the given equation. So x will be u squared. So we have here u squared plus 11, and then square root of x will be u plus 30 equals 0. Okay. So as you can see, this is NPST and we can get the factors of it. So we have the two different binomial factors. The factors of u squared are u times u. And then you will think of the factors of positive 30. Take note, positive 30, so meaning like signs. So the factors are like signs. And as you can see, the sign of the middle term here is positive. So meaning the factors of positive 30 should be positive. Okay, so we have here 5 and 6. So 5 times 6, that is 30, and 5 plus 6 is 11. So the factors are u plus 5 times the quantity of u plus 6 equals 0. And then after that, you will equate each factor to 0 using the zero product property. So u plus 5 equals 0, and then u plus 6 equals 0. And then the next step, you will transpose positive 5 to the other side, and it will give us the result of u equals negative 5. Same thing with positive 6. You will transpose it, and it will give us u equals negative 6. So now we have the value of u. Values of u are negative 5 and negative 6, but we need to solve for x. So we need to solve for x, and then the next thing here is let's go back to the representation. Again, u is equal to square root of x. So in this part, you will substitute it. Again, u is equal to square root of x, and in this value of u, which is negative 5, we have here square root of x equals negative 5. And then the other one, u, will be square root of x equals negative 6. So in this part, we need to solve for x. So to do that, we need to eliminate the radical sign. Okay? So again, the inverse of the radical is exponential. So we have here square root of x equals negative 5. To solve for x, we will apply the squaring property of equality by getting the squares of both sides. So square root of x quantity squared, it will give us x equals the square of negative 5 is positive 25. And then for the second equation, square root of x equals negative 6. The square of it, we have square root of x quantity squared. It will give us x equals the square of negative 6 is positive 36. Therefore, the values of x are positive 25 and positive 36. And that's all for the quadratic form. Thank you.